taking shots at the enemy. I'm gonna make it to the top, leave a legacy. If I got something to say, you better let me speak. Turn it up a new degree, bitch, you ain't seen anything. I pop off with the new rock, electronic, blow the sonic roof up. I'm too honest when I take a few shots. They're too toxic, need to take the noose off. And you cannot save me, cause I don't need saving. It's everything I've been chasing, all here for the taking. Don't wanna test your luck with me, I think I've had enough disease. I'm sick of all the bad thoughts, people who are half-nots. You are not as tough as I'm back, you know that I never left. I got tracks and some music that you never guess. I don't slack, don't lose, learn your lesson yet. When I get to choose what I do, I'm like a weapon. I'm not sharp as many, but got hard, I'm ready to change scars to envy, to win large and plenty. I like to play fast, never change back. Calling out, I'll pay back, cause I'm great at that. Oh, you cannot save me, cause I don't need saving. It's everything I've been chasing, all here for the taking. Don't wanna test your luck with me, I think I've had enough disease. I'm sick of all the bad thoughts, people who are half-nots. You are not as tough though. Don't wanna test your luck with me, I think I've had enough disease. I'm sick of all the bad thoughts, people who are half-nots, who are not as tough as me. Don't wanna test your luck with me, I think I've had enough disease. I'm sick of all the bad thoughts, people who are half-nots, who are not as tough as me.
Hello and welcome to FPL Agony live, here to make fantasy football less like hell. And I can assure you we had a very panicked pre-show chat or non-chat, as Scott only managed to log on about a minute before the show went live, and I genuinely thought it was just going to be me and Signore this evening. We were thinking he might have gone to sleep, mate, but there we are. Anyway, in today's show, we're going to be mainly discussing how we're going to cope with this week's fixtures, considering 3 of them aren't happening, and there's some pretty important fixtures too. It's going to be painful, it's going to be agonising, but somehow we'll make it through. And if you're watching and you're in the chat, do get involved. We want your comments, ask your questions away, and we'll do our best to answer it and support each other through this difficult time. So, let's talk about FPL's favourite cockneys. First up, his team at 18th, but they might survive. They make it through the season. It's Upton Park's favourite son. It's Scotty.
Hello, everyone. I am actually here, believe it or not. That's more to you, Matt and Signore. But yeah,
and
touch and go.
And joining us also this evening, if you'd have told him a year ago that he's the manager of his team would have been Graham Potter and he'd be linked yet again with Ronaldo, he'd think you're crazy. It's Signore.
Yeah, good evening. It's been a bit of a whirlwind since we last all checked in together.
Hasn't it just? So much has changed. So much has happened. So we're going to kind of pick apart, I think, what we're going to do with this game week, because it is absolutely, well, I mean, what can we say? I mean, we've got last week, obviously, because of the sad news of the death of Her Majesty the Queen, we didn't have any fixtures last week, which means we are going to get, for all teams at some point, a double game week. At some point, I'm not sure when that will happen. I imagine after World Cup, but maybe we can speculate that a little bit later on. But this week we have a lot of the fixtures, which we'll go through now. So in game week 8, then this weekend, we have Aston Villa versus Southampton, Nottingham Forest versus Fulham, Wolves versus City, Newcastle versus Bournemouth, Spurs v Leicester, Brentford versus Arsenal, and Everton versus West Ham. Now,
the David Unsworth derby, I hear.
The David Unsworth derby, indeed. I'll tell you what.
For those that don't know, David Unsworth signed for West Ham for less than a day and left and went to heaven.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And what we're witnessing once again is Signore's remarkable ability to rename some of the most boring fixtures as amazing
Hey, that's West Ham
derbies.
United,
Sorry, mate. No one's watching that one. Excellent stuff. So we've got 3 postponed fixtures, and it's problematic for many FPL managers this season. It's let's talk about it. We've got Brighton versus Palace, and I imagine the Brighton game being postponed will probably affect more people there. We have the absolute massacre, which is Chelsea versus Liverpool, being postponed, and that's where I reckon a lot of people are taking hits. And I mean, especially me, I have 3 Liverpool players, and Manchester United versus Leeds. And again, you know, people often have Leeds players as defenders or on their bench and things like that. So people are taking a hit everywhere, and it is absolutely crazy. Scott, how stressed are you about navigating your way through what's going to be a tricky weekend?
I think you will know how stressed I am, because during our day job today, I had a bit of hair. I've taken it off now. That's how stressed I am.
Well, ZFC says you'll be pulling your hair out when you see the scoreline. There's a West Ham playing in, I think. Oh, dear.
Don't lie. We've only just kicked off. I'm not even watching the game.
Oh, well, someone's posted 1-0, I think. So, I don't know.
That's got to be a joke, surely.
I think
No.
Scott's going to be randomly disappearing at moments during the live stream today.
And that won't be my temperature high phone kind of going out, but that's got to be a joke. I swear they play in front of like 4 fans. What is going on?
And 3 of them are stewards.
No.
What? Very good, very good. What is this? What is this competition? Is it like the
we call it the Mickey Antonio Moyes League, the Mickey Mouse League, the Conference League, isn't it?
Right, okay.
Back to the question. Back to why we're here. The most important thing, FPL is back. And what am I doing? I'm 2 free transferring it. I'm not going to risk using a wild card for it. I just think that my team is set up enough to just get through the game week. And then I aim to wild card in game week 9 with a brand new team and tinker with that over the international break. So I think I'm happy with my decision. It will give me 12 players, including a outfield bench option, and I think that'll get me through the game week.
I mean, we'll look at your teams in a moment, and in terms of where you're at after the last game week. I think, Scott, you're not in too bad a position. In fact, I'll tell you what, let's actually just put your teams up now. Let's actually talk about this now. So, Scott, this is your team. I think you've tinkered with a little bit because you've moved some players to the bench, but you do have an 11 to play with, and you do have Ward just in case Raya doesn't play. But you do have an 11. How many transfers do you have again? Free transfers?
2 free transfers.
So
2, yeah.
Yeah, and I think we can talk about in a little bit what your transfers might be. And I know people in the chat might want to get involved. We've had a couple of suggestions already, and we may talk about some of those. Signore, let's not beat around the bush here. You're in trouble, mate.
My midfield's gone on holiday. They're all taking a flight to Spain.
Oh,
Where have they gone?
Yeah, it is. That is a massacre. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you can use your bench options. It's still not gonna bring you too much. I mean, you got on the bench. You got me, Williams, and Andreas.
As in Ben me or you, Matt?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same question.
Well, if you got me on the bench, you're truly screwed, I think.
It might have to be the case this weekend, guys. I think we need to sign Matt for our FPL teams. To be honest.
just put Kill on your bench or something. I used to play football badly. I was in defence. Anyone came near me, I just hoofed the ball somewhere. That's my defensive tactics right there. Signore, how many free transfers do you have?
I have 2. And do you know the mad thing about this? I was kind of like thinking to myself, do you know what? I'm going to get McAllister in. He's on red hot form. I'm going to get him in before his price goes up. Got him in, really happy. And then obviously what happened with Her Majesty happened. And then ruined all my plans. So now, that's one transfer gone. I could have maybe brought in someone else if I knew all this. Hindsight's fantastic, isn't it? And then I got 2 free transfers. So, like Scott, I think I'm not going to panic. I think I'm going to save my wildcards. I'm going to save my free hit. And I'm going to just play with 10.
Absolutely. And while you're mentioning that, I just want to point out we do have a poll in terms of in the chat.
Very nice.
So the question is, how will you cope with this week's postponed fixtures? Are you going to use your wild card? Are you using a free hit? Or are you using your free transfers? That poll's live. So do get involved in that and let us know. And we'll look at the results a bit later in today's show. So we kind of need to go through a few things. And I guess... 2 questions, Scott. I'll come to you for the first one. Do you think actually, let's look at Signore's team. Let's look at that. Do you think more people are going to be are more people likely to be in Signore's position, or more people likely to be in your position of having a full 11 in the FPL community? Do you think? I know you're very active in the community. So what's the sort of murmurs going on in that?
Obviously, it's just that team dependent, obviously. But from the feelers I've got, it seems like a lot of people are in Signore's position and have wildcarded this week. And again, that's totally team dependent, and that's down to you, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? How you feel your team is set up. But I just think if you've got 2 free transfers, I feel like some people have jumped the gun with the wildcard. But then if you've got 2 free transfers like Signore and you're still only ending up with 7. You don't really want that, do you? Do you know what I mean? So I totally get people's positions in wildcarding. But, yeah, it's just down to team dependency, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just thinking about the options we have available, obviously we've got our poll in the chat, so do get involved with that, folks, about how you're going to get through that. We've got lots of responses already, which is great. I think the consensus between both of you is that do not use your wild card. Do not use your free hit, but actually just try, if you can, rely on your 1 or 2 free transfers. Signore, would that be the advice you would give?
Me personally, yes. I can see the temptation of having a wildcard in place, and I've seen some very interesting wildcards on Instagram. But I'm thinking to myself, do I really need to use my wildcards? After this game week, there's an international break, and who knows what's going to happen. So when all the players come back and you bring your players in, who knows? And the thing is, when I tried to play with like the sort of flirtation of a wild card, half the players that I wanted to bring in weren't going to play anyway. So it's like, what's the point in using it? I'm not going to bring in 3 Tottenham and 3 Everton and 3 West Ham just to get them out in the space of 2, 3, 4, 5 game weeks or whatever.
Yeah, and I think this postponed reduced game week is precariously put between these international fixtures. It is problematic. Scott, do you concur then actually the free transfers is the way forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're in that luxury position, I know someone who made a free transfer on Thursday night just before the Friday announcement, and he was left with 1 free transfer, with no free transfers. So he's only got 1 free transfer this week. And he's buggered. I mean, he's sitting on top of quite a few mini leagues, and how the pressure cooker's there because he knows he needs to compete. He needs to stay in that position. So he's wildcarded just because he had no other option, But I still feel there's a little bit of a panic around that. I think to have a wild card going into an international break, like you could activate that wild card or at 7 o'clock tomorrow night and have a full 2.5 weeks to tinker with it. You know, you're going to see players that might get injured over the international break. For example, if you play a wild card this week and then 3 of your players you've brought in go on international break and get an injury, then that wild card is an absolute pointless, really, because you've only got one free transfer to replace at least one of them. And I just think it's just such a big risk. It's stress, it's agony, it's madness, and I just feel like you've got so much power playing a wild card and having 2 weeks. It's almost like you're kickstarting your season again. You know, it's that 2 weeks before game week 1, and you've seen what's going on in pre-season. The international break kind of works as a bit of a pre-season if you're going to link it to that. And I just think it's such a powerful tool to have when you've got so much time to tinker with the team. Obviously, it's down to price changes and you don't want to risk it. But you're going to have your core players in there. You're going to have your premium defender. You're going to have your premium forward. You're going to have potentially a premium midfielder in there. And I just think it's a good tool to have over a spread of a fortnight, you know?
Yeah. And I think the importance of maintaining, your wild cards and your free hits is made especially so because we know that there's going to be at least one double game week at some point, and some teams will have two. So it's in terms of your wild cards and your free hits, you definitely want to keep those, Signore.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I think in my more successful seasons in FPL are the ones where I've kept my chips until towards the end of the season and used them wisely in double game weeks. When I've kind of used them early and I thought, do you know what? I need to use it now. In hindsight, it hasn't really paid off for me.
And Scott, what you sort of think actually is that on your radar, using some of those, there's extras on those double game weeks?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I've seen people playing a free hit this week. I think they're absolutely bonkers. Just their decisions, not them in person, but like just to think that, what happens if the announcement of a double game week through the postponed fixtures happens during the international break? I can then play a wild card and use the double game weeks to my advantage. People that are playing wild cards this week might not be able to pick players from those teams because they might think it might come up in a month or so, And you just can't take that risk. We're going to have more information. Well, if we don't have any information for this game week, then we're going to potentially have more. You live in that hope that we might get some more information. I just think it's such a powerful tool. Double game weeks, or free hits are made for double game weeks. Like last year, we fortunately got 2 free hits due to obviously a lot of COVID postponements and stuff like that. I played one in game week 28, and so did Signore, and we scored like 125 points at least. And and then with your captain and stuff, it's such a solid tool to have. I honestly think free hit is like the most powerful tool in the game. Like your triple captain is an amazing chip to have, but it can either go one or two ways. It can bomb or it can sail you up, And I just feel like
triple captain.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The stress comes with the triple captain. I don't think you can stress with a free hit because it's a free hit. But if you're free hitting on a team potentially getting, 11 players, 22 games there on a free hit. No one's got a double game week this week. People are going to be free hitting on 7 matches. You're basically going to triple up on a lot of teams, and they're all going to be playing each other anyway. I personally, I don't see the point in a free hit this week. Not at all.
Just before we talk about your transfer intentions, Maliha kindly informs us it is 1-1 in the West Ham game. So do keep us posted. We're not watching the game, but do keep us posted in the chat of how West Ham are doing in the Champions League. I mean, the Conference League. And please do let us know and keep those comments coming. Sorry, that was a bit rude of me. Just a reminder,
what was the score yesterday in the Champions League?
Shut up,
Chelsea.
Well, the same as your score right now.
Yeah, but we've got 60. We've got 60 odd minutes in the match. That's not full time yet.
Yeah, I think we could have a whole podcast episode talking about what on earth is going on at Chelsea. I mean, but let's not go there. I think it's a little bit wild. Just a reminder, and we do have a poll at the moment live, talking about how you'll cope with this week's postponed fixtures, wildcard free hit, or using your free transfers. Do get involved in that. The consensus between all of us tonight is that you should avoid using a wild card and free hits. Try and just use your transfers. And what I suppose is quite encouraging is if you're facing a massacre, as Signore is with that amazingly blank midfield, and if Signore is saying that you should try and just stick to using your free transfers, then I think everyone, there's no need to panic, is there? We'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Just a couple of deep breaths and hope for the best.
Deep breathing. Practice your deep breathing. We'll get through this. Right, I want to talk about transfer intentions, and then maybe both Scott and Signore and the audience watching can help me with mine, because I'm a bit lost, and you know that's going to be a tricky one to do. But anyway, let's talk about transfer intentions. So Scott, just a reminder for those watching, has got a full 11, but does have 2 free transfers. So Scott, what are you thinking this week?
Well, I think I'm going to take out Salah to give me some freedom around transfers. He'll be one of my transfers out. With a potential to bring him back on the wild card in literally a 1 week game week time. So it's not like it's a big like, oh my god, you're taking out Salah, and then I might just keep Salah out. I don't know. That's obviously the power of a wild card, obviously. But I think taking him out, and I think my key target is Kevin De Bruyne. I think to potentially double up on a Man City attack as such for the Wolves fixture. And they're great defensively, Wolves, but I just think most things come through those 2 players. You know, your Haaland and your De Bruyne. And to triple up on City, for even if it's a 1 week, you go all in, it's basically a free hit in some ways on City attackers. I've also looked at Son potentially bringing him in to kind of to target that Leicester defence, but obviously he's not the one that he's obviously not been firing. But then I just don't see myself taking out Isaac, for example, or Haaland, or Jesus, who are obviously all playing, to bring in Kane, for example. So I do think I'm going to stick to the De Bruyne move, and then I'm probably going to take out Luis Diaz as well to accommodate a midfielder that's obviously playing this week. And I'm looking at, then if I don't do the Son move, which I'm likely not going to do, I will look at either Kulusevski or Jared Bowen at West Ham, depending on how he plays tonight, potentially. And they'll give, and also the minutes. Obviously, I don't know the team. I've not seen the lineup. I don't know how many minutes he's going to be playing for. But I think that will be a packed midfield for a 1 week, and I'd be happy with that, because otherwise you're just umming and ahhing for so long going which other midfield option do I take out Trent for a 1 week, obviously, and then potentially bring him back on a wild card again, bring in another defender. I just don't know. I'm not taking no minuses. I'm not going to do that. I think that's pointless. So it's the toss up of De Bruyne and Kulusevski, De Bruyne or Bowen, potentially Son, but likely De Bruyne and someone. And I'll confirm that obviously in a short, probably tomorrow night's deadline.
And obviously your free transfers are in response to as many unexpected events and postponement of fixtures.
Yeah.
Do you view the transfers you make this week as being part of a longer term solution, or is your intention actually to switch back to the players you currently have?
That's the tricky point of it all. I think for me, that's where I'm really, really stuck, because we all know Salah hasn't been firing. I know he got 2 assists and he scored at the start of the season and stuff, but he's had quite a tricky start to the season. And if you look at the fixtures for Liverpool, I don't think we can get them up, but, you know, they get trickier. They've got some tough fixtures coming up. They've got West Ham. Don't laugh at that one. They've got Arsenal coming up. They've also got City. I don't know in which order. But Liverpool's fixtures don't really pick up until like game week 12, which you can easily like manoeuvre all of that with free transfers. So, and it doesn't make the wild card less valuable if I'm keeping De Bruyne on a wild card, because I just don't want to waste the 2 free transfers. So, I mean, it's not really a long-term play, because wildcarding game week 9 anyway. But I just think to set up solid for the. If I'm planning to wildcard, to set up as solid as possible for the last week with this team. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
And yeah, I think it's really interesting what your plans are, and it'll be interesting to see how well you do, because having with a team of 11 and having those 3 transfers, it's certainly you're in a better position than most, I think.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, sorry, I was thinking even people that will be wildcarding, they're going to be wildcarding players that won't be playing this week. I'm sure a manager won't be wildcarding just players that are playing this week, because that's not the play to have. You're still going to be planning for future game weeks. So people are still going to be playing players or bringing players in on a wildcard that will be blanking this week, with obviously the option of them coming back in with good fixtures and double game weeks and whatnot. So they're still going to have players on their bench probably that are going to be blanking. So they still might not play with a full 12 or 13 including bench options, So I still think I'm in a reasonable position amongst people that will be wildcarding this week.
Well, I mean, and I don't want to make that comparison necessarily to Signore all the time, and I don't want to make you feel worse about your situation, Signore. You face a very different challenge. When we have a look, just to recap, we look at your team. You do have all of your bench available, which consists of me, Williams, and Andreas. But from your main team, Dunk is out, Trent is out, Salah is out, Diaz is out, Aronson's out, McAllister is out. You have no midfield. Obviously, you can use your bench. You have 2 free transfers. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do, Signor? I can't wait to find out.
I think I've got to target the midfield. I need to bring in 2 midfielders. I don't think bringing anyone in defence is going to help me. I need points. And whoever I bring in, there was a very big temptation to bring in someone else from City. And I hope and I need them to play. Because if they suffer and I suffer from Pep Roulette this week, man, I need all my 10 players to play. Because I don't want to take a hit. And I'm not looking to take a hit. So maybe a City midfielder like Foden, or, like Scott said, drop Salah for De Bruyne for a week could work. And the interesting thing about Foden, he was rested, or I say rested, he didn't start against Dortmund. So that gives me confidence he's going to play this weekend. With the Tottenham boys, it's a hard one. Like, Lucy, he,
every time.
Every time. He's not been starting. And he's someone who I would think, yeah, I'll put him in against Leicester. But is he going to be guaranteed to start? I need players that are going to start. I have kind of aimed at a couple of Newcastle midfielders. Like, a bit of a complete shot in the dark here. But you look at, like, Almiron, and you look at Willock. They're playing Bournemouth. They're not bad options. Now, if St. Max was available, he's someone who I'm 100% bringing in, but he's not available, I don't think. There was an interesting comment from FPL Penguin in the chat saying that he has already taken out Salah and Stansfield, have brought in Madison and Mitrovic, which, great options. Great options. Bit of a gamble on Madison, but he has come good this season.
With the fixture as well, I mean, if Tottenham are firing with that Leicester defence, I mean, but Madison's a great option, I think. I really, really do.
Yeah. I mean, I did think about Saka as well, or Martinelli, but Brentford are quite solid. So I don't know if Arsenal... I think Arsenal will win. I just don't think they'll win by that much. It might be a 1-0 or a 2-1. I can't see it being loads of goals. And Brentford at home are dangerous. And I need Tony to score. I need my players to get me points this week.
I think Shush thinks you should add Trippier to your team. What do you reckon?
I think in the wildcard, definitely an option. But for the moment, I need my midfield. That's where I'm guaranteed to hopefully score more points, because even though you bring your defenders in, you're not always guaranteed for them to keep a clean sheet, which is where they will mainly get their points from. So I'm bringing 2 midfielders who I'm debating still.
Well, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the comments. Signore's looking for 2 midfielders to shore up his starting 8. Do let us know who you think should be involved in Signore's team. I love how Maliha's role in this live stream has become like, I don't know, the equivalent of like Robbie Savage on BT Sport. 2-1 to West Ham, Gianluca Scamacca with that goal there. So you must be pretty happy, Scott.
Oh yeah, I'm throwing a party right now, guys. I've got my branded lemonade, and I'm really enjoying it.
Scott promised us before the show that if West Ham win the Conference League, he's going to get a Jose Mourinho style tattoo of the Conference League Cup.
Did I actually say that? Because I probably did, actually.
You didn't, but we can pretend you did. Malia says, get off the live stream and watch the game. But shush, live stream comes first. I love the comments. Keep them coming in. It's absolutely fantastic. Maliha says, continuing her obsession with Ruben Loftus-Cheek, says everyone should put RSC in their team.
It's not even playing.
I know, it's amazing. I love the obsession. I love how that's a thing. That's so good. I'm unaffected by Chelsea's postponement. I do, even though I'm a Chelsea fan, I never put Chelsea players on my team because they're a mess. Even though they're 6, but they're a mess. I can't do it. Everyone's unreliable. Okay, it's really interesting. If you don't mind, I kind of want to talk about my team. And hopefully this will come up. There we go. I think we can see it there. So here's my entire squad. 2 free transfers. What I'm thinking is, in terms of coming out, I mean, I think, I can have a starting 11, and I think we're looking at a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2, depending on the transfers I make. It can work. Now, before all the disruption and obviously the sad news and everything that came out, there was a lot of posts on FPL on Reddit and things like that talking about Salah. And, people getting quite fed up with what has turned out to be a £13 million paperweight in their team, not having the impact historically has been essential to having the team. And lots of people were talking about taking Salah out. I'm interested in FPL Penguin. If you're still watching, you mentioned about taking Salah out, and bringing in Maddison and Mitrovic. But what I'm interested in, FPL Penguin, is if you intend to bring Salah back. I think a lot of people could potentially take Salah out longer term just to see how it is, particularly with the slow start they've made to the season, but also, as Scott said earlier, their fixtures don't really pick up until game week 12. I think you said it's a bit later on. So my thoughts are Salah needs to go. That frees up a whole wad of cash, and I'm thinking, I need to offload either Gross or Trent or Firmino. I can't even say his name. I'm like you with Kulusevski.
We just call him Bob.
Let's call him Bob. They're all called Bob. I can't say the name. So I think, what do you think about taking Salah out? Short term. Let's do that first. Short term. Salah gone?
I think maybe, but one thing I'll say about Salah, he comes good against the big teams.
Well, not this week.
Well, not this week. But he does normally come good against the big teams. So if I were thinking of taking him out for De Bruyne for just this game week, I'm probably going to wildcard him back in straight away. I do. I feel like he will maybe turn a corner. I hope so, anyway.
Yeah, the hope. The hope many FPL managers hope, at least, I think, just given the sacrifices I think managers have to make to have them in the team. Scott, your thoughts on Salah being removed short term?
Oh, I fully agree there. I contradicted myself a little bit. I did say the option of not bringing him back, but I just think, do you know what? I know De Bruyne has had a great season, but it's that FOMO of not having Salah. Because if he hauls, he normally hauls. He will haul and haul and haul in one game week, and I just feel like there are some great options in midfield. There are. But how many come close to Salah? Like, he's still top or near top of the tree for midfielder points this season. And he's not had the best season. Like, as in from a FPL point of view. Like, your Maddison, what's he, 7.9? Kulusevski, 8.1. Diaz 8.1. Unless you're going down to your value picks and your 6 millions, your Martinelli and stuff, I just feel like, is there anyone that's... Saha is a great option. I think I would look at him on a wild card. Bowen, I still think Bowen's overpriced. But I just feel like, is there anyone better out there anyway? So are you going to just bring back Salah regardless? You know? So I've still got beat around the bushes there. I'd still probably would wildcard him back in, because the idea is that his value will be dropping, surely. Because with the amount of sales this week, he's going to drop down to 12.8 if he hasn't already. To be honest, I haven't really looked at it. So you can kind of sell him for 12.9 and bring him back for a 0.1 cheaper, you know? So you've got that option there.
So take him out, wait for the price drop, bring wildcard him back in. That's,
money.
I could do that.
Absolutely.
I could do that 0.1, I'm sure.
I mean,
if you were me, Signore, looking at my team, you know, I've got some people need to come out. It could be Trent, Salah, Gross, Firmino. Who would you? Two players you got to swap. Who would you swap out of my team?
I think Shush mentioned it in the chat. I would think Bobby needs to go. I think with Jota coming back and Nunez coming back, he's going to be on limited game time, I think, unfortunately. I'm such a fan of him as well. It's such a shame. But if he goes, I think you're in a good position here, Matt. You can bring in Isaac from Newcastle. They've got a nice run of fixtures. And you can also, if you think of not wildcarding, you could bring in Tony. You know, he's another good option to bring in.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, or Mitrovic. You know, they're playing. Fulham's fixtures look good. Maybe it's a little bit risky to have Andreas and Mitrovic, but if you're not looking to wildcard and you're just looking to do 2 free transfers, then take out Firmino for either Isaac or Mitrovic or Tony, and then look at. You'd have a little more funds. Maybe you can upgrade Gross. Maybe you can upgrade him with the money left over, and you know you could aim for like a Bernardo Silva or Gundogan, but they're on Pep Roulette rotation. That's the problem. But then it depends who you want to bring in. If you want players to actually play this week, I know it's a bit of a wild shout, and I wouldn't be brave enough to do it. But Ward-Prowse's record against Aston Villa is phenomenal. It's actually really good. I didn't realise how good it was. He's got something like 4 goals against Villa in the past 5 seasons. So
that's such a good shout and quite a differential, because he's someone who's overlooked yet being actually quite successful in many FPL teams. So that's interesting you say that. And I'm just looking at the table here. This is organised by the FPL community transfers in. They seem to agree Mitrovic is the most transferred in player this week, followed by Isaac. Now that's interesting, because when we compare, if we just look purely at the stats, Mitrovic currently on 39 points for the season, Isaac currently on 9. Why are people bringing in Isaac at this stage, do you think, Scott?
Well, to be fair, he signed near deadline day, so he's obviously going to be a little bit less points than Mitrovic, to be fair. But I think people are bringing him in because he passed. I think he passed the eye test. We spoke about eye test before, and I feel like he passed it in the Liverpool game. He made his debut at Anfield. He could have easily got a brace. I think he did really, really well. And all right, fair enough. I brought him in for the Palace game, and it didn't quite work. But I think his fixtures look really tasty coming up. Like if I do wildcard in Gameweek 9, I'd still look at even keeping him in on the wildcard. I just think Bournemouth at home. Is it Bournemouth at home this week, or is it away? Is it at home?
Bournemouth at home this week, followed by Fulham away, and then Brentford at home.
I think they've got some good fixtures, Newcastle. I think they come... I remember speaking on the live stream, about a month ago or so now, and we was talking about, taking Trippier out because of the fixtures. Talk about your Liverpool, you talk about your City, and then you talk about West Ham. They were all coming up for Newcastle. They were narrowly beaten by Liverpool. They obviously got the draw against City, which obviously Trippier scored in and whatnot. And then the West Ham game never happened. So their fixtures have turned again. And I think they could be a team to target. I really, really do. I mean, I've kept Trippier in. I'm going to keep him on the wild card. I think what an option. I've earned already I don't know about you, Matt, but I think we've earned 0.3 on him 0.2 or 0.3 on him with your price. So the team value's going up. It's really nice, and I think people are going to start jumping on Newcastle assets. Signore, you mentioned it about Almiron. I looked at it, £5 million. He's had a good start to the season. It looks like he's finally playing in a team under Howe now, where he's looking like the player that Newcastle fans would have thought he was going to be back when he signed. What was it, 2 seasons ago or something?
Yeah, it was just end product with him, wasn't it?
Yeah,
You know, he had the
absolutely,
skill, he had
absolutely.
the work rate. It was just end product. He wasn't getting the assists. He wasn't getting the goals. He seems to just about be doing that now. If he can keep producing on this nice run of fixtures, it could be a nice little short-term, differential.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think him feeding Isaac, it could be a win, I don't know if I'll triple up on Newcastle on a wild card or for this week, but I think Isaac is a good option. I think there's a lot of good options around that price bracket now. I think they're all coming into contention now. If you can't afford, I think most people have Haaland now, but if you can't afford Kane in addition, which is quite a dangerous thing to do with the price, and some people are jumping off of Jesus as well, I've noticed. And I think there's no better options than Tony, Isaac and Mitrovic. 100% easy.
That surprises me to hear people jumping off of Jesus. It's quite interesting. I mean, Arsenal have made a great start. And I think Newcastle, because of Arsenal's start to the season, people are overlooking Newcastle because I actually think, they're in a different position now than a few years ago. They're removed away from the drama of the Mike Ashley years. They've got Eddie Howe in, which was, I guess, for some people, a little bit of a surprise for him to take over as manager. But actually, a lot of good decision making has been made, it would seem, at Newcastle, and certainly seems to be one to watch. Thinking about this, let's just hypothetically say I'm going to go for Isaac then. Isaac replaces Firmino, or Bob, as we're going to now call him. I've got one free transfer left. That gives me, what does that give me? £3 million in the bank, which is just not bad, not to be sniffed at all. So I need to make a change. I think looking at, it's difficult to say. I think Trent's not playing. Obviously, I'm going to have Sanchez in goal, Trippier, Cancelo, either Patterson or Williams. I'm not sure on that one. Possibly Patterson, I think, as I'm going 3 at the back. We're looking at sort of 3-4-3, perhaps, depending on what I do in midfield. So obviously my midfield will consist of Andreas, Jensen, Martinelli, and one other player. Who's should
could upgrade
that be?
to a Foden, couldn't you?
I have a thing about having. I mean, almost certainly. I mean, 5 million. If I swap out Gross, as has been suggested, that would give me 10.9 million to work with.
It could be dangerous. You could triple up an Arsenal and have Saka.
Well, apparently it gives me 8.9. What's going on there? Hang on, how's this working out? All right, let's see. That's it. Let's switch to affordable to make sure I can actually do it. Could get Bowen in. Lots of people are transferring in Bowen or Rashford.
Well, the fact they're not playing is the fun.
That's hilarious.
Obviously, it was before that.
160,000 people transferring in Rashford.
I saw someone on Twitter during the week who brought in Rashford 2 game weeks ago, played him for 1 game, earned 2.2 on his price, and then sold him. And then it's a nice little touch,
That is nice to pick up a few extra quid. That's certainly a good
you could bring in Matt. You could bring in Scott's pal, Jay Lings.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see Scott's face. Is he frozen? Is he still there?
He's frozen in shock. He can't believe it.
Yeah.
It's either that or the West Ham score. Malia, thank you for the update. It's 3-1 to West Ham. Dawson getting the 3rd goal in the 38th minute.
Oh, my God. Ballon
like
Dawson,
Teletext all over
Virgil
again.
van Dawson. Literally. If you want Jay Lings, but he won't come off the bench, then that's absolutely fine, Because he's been dropped by Forest now, so, take your pick.
Yeah, some might say it was karma, might they, Scott?
I don't know what you're talking about.
We can get some early season friends in, like we can get Neto in, and we can get Bailey in, and all those guys. They can all come back.
Or Signore, you could bring in Kevin Dewsbury Hall. Is it Kevin
Could
Dewsbury
bring in,
Hall? You know
yeah.
that your FPL troll. Maybe
I don't
you
think
could
it's
bring him
Kevin, but yeah, Dewsbury Hall. That could, yeah.
back.
Or
I'll
Nicholas
make
Poppy.
people's first names up as we go along. Anyways,
Maliha wants to know how much you're getting paid. You're getting paid in free entertainment by watching the show.
true say.
We will not have this show descend into taking the mickey out of people's past transgressions in the FPL. Scott, you're getting a yellow card for that. We're not picking on Signore this week because he's got a massacred team. No, I'm kidding. Let's do it. Right.
He started it. Thank you very much. Jay Lings could have been playing tonight. But he decided not to. Okay.
Yeah, but
Thank
if
you
he
very
was, he
much.
probably wouldn't be winning. So there you go. West Ham, other winners. You're going to win the league, the Conference League. You're going to win the league. For sure. Look forward to that new tattoo, mate. Okay, so I mean, Shush reckons Foden is a good pick. I'm just left unsure. I don't. The thing is, I don't want to use my free transfers as some kind of temporary move. I'd like there to be a little bit of permanence around it, just because I don't know. I just want to avoid using any sort of wild cards or free hits or anything like that. I just need to, feel like I need to save those. I'm unsure of having 3 of City or 3 of any team. I made the mistake. The first time this season I had 3 of anyone was 3 Liverpool players. And now look what's happened. It's been a postponed fixture. So I definitely need to trust my gut instinct of not having 3 teams. I'm not sure. I kind of feel like
Let's have a look at the fixtures again, Matt.
Can
you get that screen back up for this week?
Yeah, sure. Let's have a look.
Just for some reason, my mind's gone blank about who else you can bring in. I mean, people like Coutinho and Boeda, they're kind of off the radar now, aren't they? Like I said, Ward-Prowse is not... I'm not brave enough to do it, but that could work. Newcastle midfield could work. I mean, a Tottenham guy could work if...
I mean, I can afford Kulusevski. The issue is playing Arsenal in game week 9.
But are you going to wildcard in game week 9? That's because we haven't asked you about your plans for the upcoming games.
Why would I? The issue is, unless... It depends, doesn't it, on the international break and what happens. I don't intend to, if I'm honest, unless I get injuries. Unless players pick up injuries. It's the only circumstance,
the question
really.
I put to you, I'll put a question to you, and when is there another chance to play a wild card before game week 16 when you're going to get a World Cup wild card? That's the only question, because we're kind of running out of time a little bit, Game week 12 and you have a 4-week wild card before the World Cup wild card, as I like to call it.
Yeah.
That's what you got to think about. That's why I want to do it as soon as possible, really.
I mean, yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be, if I use a wild card, it tends to be quite reactionary. And it might be that I get to game week 10 or 11 and I think, oh man, I'm falling further behind you guys. And then I feel like I need to sort of bring in some fresh talent. Maliha, I can't bring in Gross. He's not playing. Okay.
I'm loving the Italian emojis though.
Yeah, I know that is fantastic. That's certainly appropriate for this stream. So, I mean, just going back to who the possibilities are, because I don't want to dwell too long on this because we want to obviously just not talk about me all the time. But it's difficult. I mean, I don't want to bring in Kulusevski because of that tricky Arsenal fixture. Bailey, lots of people are transferring in Bailey. Based on the upcoming fixtures, Southampton, Leeds and Forest. I'm not that brave.
Is that... Wow.
Ødegaard. But again, 2 Arsenal midfielders. I've got Martinelli already. It doesn't make sense. I think Ward-Prowse makes the most sense. Game week 10, there's Man City. But as you say, if I'm using a wild card for game week 9, that might not be an issue. For me, it is tricky. I think we're looking at sort of Ward-Prowse or Foden. I think that's kind of where my head is at. It's so difficult.
I think actually, with my previous chat about my team, I think Gundogan has now come into my mind just because of what you guys have said about a City mid. But then I couldn't bring in De Bruyne because obviously I've already got double City. Every time I've spoke about Gundogan on this stream, he's absolutely hauled the following game week, and I've not actually utilised it and actioned on what I've suggested. So that's someone to think about as well, I think.
All right, so I'm putting him in my team then because you're going to bring me good luck. So we're going to go with we're going to go with that. I've got 1.3 million left in the bank there.
That is nice.
So that's not too bad.
Really nice.
That's doable. That's not bad. So I would be looking at Sanchez in goal, Trippier, Cancelo, and Patterson as a back three, and then Gundogan, Martinelli, Jensen, and Andreas. That's okay. And Haaland, Jesus, and Isaac up front. That's all right. That's okay.
I think that works if you're not looking to wildcard soon. Yeah.
This guy does it to me all the time.
Well, let's be honest. If one of the three City players doesn't play, then it's going to be Williams, because that's the only sub I'm going to have that's playing.
At least you've got a sub.
That is true. That is absolutely true.
I'm Hackney Marsh. We've only got 10 players, but we're going to play the game. I've been in that position a few times.
Yeah. What are we going to do? Oh, right. Okay. I'm just going to grab the results of the poll, which I'm now going to end, and let's just put it up on here. Oh, crap! The screen's gone all funny.
Lovely.
Let's bring this up on here.
The suspense.
Right. So I'm just going to whack it over this screen here. So, how are you cope with this week's postponed fixtures? 64% said they're going to use the free transfers. So they sort of in agreement with us. 20% using the wildcard, 14% using a free hit. So that's it. I think we've, between us and the viewers, we are agreeing that don't panic. The way through this is use your free transfers. Everyone's got 2, right? Do we get a free transfer for the postponed game week?
Yeah.
The cancelled game week?
Yeah.
So everyone's got 2. We'll be all right, won't we? It'll be fine somehow.
Signore, how many times did you vote in this poll?
14.
Wow.
He's got 14 YouTube
votes.
accounts.
I'm expecting a few red arrows this week, but I think I'm okay with that. I'm not expecting loads of red arrows. I'm expecting some, but I'm okay with that this week because I feel like I will bounce back. I went from like 3.5 million to the top 1.2 million in the space of like 3 game weeks. So, I feel pretty
the
good.
green arrows were lovely, wasn't it? The green arrows were lovely when there was no games. All those -4s did me a favour.
That felt particularly brutal. They've kept the -4s from postponed game week. How awful is that? And that's why I suppose you should leave your decision making to quite late on, even though it adds a bit of pressure. Things can change, and it's always worth waiting a bit longer. We're coming towards the end of the show, and we'll switch to this view. Hi everyone. Any closing thoughts then about the fixtures or anything you want to share? Any messages of just goodwill or good luck? Scotty, take it away, man.
That's it, really. I think don't panic. Your team's always going to be team dependent. And if you feel like you need to play a wild card because that's the best suited for your team for this game week and the game week's coming up, then wild card this week. That's absolutely fine. But don't just do it because you feel like having 10 players is a danger to your overall rank, for example. Because you got to think about the long term. If you're looking to play FPL for the whole season, and people should be, they don't come in it for the first 16 game weeks and bugger off, That will help us because then our rankings will go up and up and up. But I do think that if you're playing it for the long term, if you play a wild card in even 2 weeks' time, that will be worth more points to you long term than having an extra player this week, you know? So don't panic. Look at it in the long term and assess your options and be team dependent.
And no matter how bad you think your prospective team's going to be this weekend, it's not going to be anywhere near the nightmare that Signore faces. So, Signore, any messages of goodwill, good luck, or any pleading you wish to do for help?
Yeah, I hope my midfield have a fabulous time in Spain. Send me postcards, Salah and Diaz and Harrison and McAllister. Send me a postcard.
That seems like an amazing lads' holiday, by the way.
Oh, can you imagine? Lots of hair. One thing I would say is it's going to be okay. And if not, we'll rejoice in the pain together.
Thank you very much, Signore. Just a reminder to everyone watching, thank you very much for watching, everyone, tonight. It's been great to see the comments, and thank you to Maliha for sharing the scores of the West Ham game and also your love for RLC and Gross, which you seem to be proclaiming in the chat. But thank you to everyone for all the questions and all the comments. It's been really, really good. Just a reminder, please do follow us on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and now Instagram run by our very own Signore there. So please do get involved. It's at FPL Agony and all of those. Please do get involved. Lots of chats and lots of stuff happening during the week. We also post like shorts and stuff, so do check those out. We also have a shop. You can buy your t-shirts, your cushions, your mugs, your drinking glasses, your water bottles, your canvas bags. They're all hideously overpriced, but do it anyway. It helps the channel. Gives us some dosh to pay the electric bill for running this live stream. We've all got phones to charge. Think of us. Think of the kids. Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, do get involved in all of that stuff, and of course, do like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, we're going to be back. Well, we had a break, but it's good to be back. It is nice to be back, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. Well, we're going to sign off there. I'll let Scott and Signore, you can do your normal sign off. Go for it.
So tune in next time at FPL Agony, where we will be sharing our stress, anxieties,
and pain that make us love. No, that's not even how we say it, is it? See, we need to do a bit of a rehearse
that make
after
us love
so
the
long.
pain in this game.
Can we do that again?
Yeah, go on. We might as well.
Sack him.
I mean, we showed up 30 seconds before we went live. I was sitting there having palpitations. Right, do it again. Right, take two.
Tune in next time at FPL Agony, where we will be sharing more stress, anxieties,
and agony that make us love the pain of this game.
I'm done.
And may all of your arrows be green.
Bye, guys. See
Bye.
you later. Oh dear.
I'm clicking the ending button. It's not going off. I've clicked end. Oh no, hang on. This is it. We're going. May all your arrows be green.